my god. Alright guys. This is episode 3 of autosave. Where do I even start? One is back to the consistency talk. Uh, and you know what's funny is that this one I was pretty excited to do the third video. Cuz it's been all not only has it been cool to start this since being pushed into it, but it has also been really cool to uh be able to talk as if like you're having like a self therapy session, because even though like people leave comments, like just saying out loud how you feel about certain things is really cool. And I guess that's the perfect segue to talk about one of the first topics I want to get into is about loving yourself and keeping people around you that genuinely want to see good things happen for you. You know, there's many a times that you'll have people who you think are your friends or who you think have your back, and they they may actually in the background have like nasty or dark things that they think about you. And I don't remember if I mentioned this in the last video, but jealousy and envy is they're large contributing factors to how friendships are broken, right? And I honestly feel like maybe it's just like this own dark twist on how I view life based on past experiences, but you got to be very careful about the people you allow close to your heart, right? Because, when you think back and you look back at a lot of the times that they might have hurt you without even realizing it, it's like you have to think to yourself too, like, did they ever really like have your back, right? And I know all of this sounds negative, but it's more so like a precautionary tale of just making sure that like you have people around you that really want to talk to you, that really want to hang out with you, that really have your best interest. And you know, envy will always be there. People will always be envious, right? I like to call it the green monster of what others have, because they may be in a place in life that they don't have the same things that somebody else has. But the problem comes when that envy turns into jealousy, you know, and then it becomes dark, right? And you have people who are really looking to hurt you for no reason, right? And then you also don't want people around you that are going to look to use you or abuse you, right? That's the worst part of it all, right? When you feel like you can't trust the people around you because you feel like they're just looking to use you. They're just looking to try you're a means to an end, right? And it sucks, right? Because usually the people that fall into this category of person, they're the ones who are closest to you. So, you know, yeah, I know the past doesn't always define how a person turns out in the future, right? And you should want to give people chances to do better and be better people. But when that same behavior continues to rear its ugly head, it can be very frustrating to almost stay sane and not say anything, right? And sometimes you may not, I say that, but sometimes you may not want to say anything because you may not want to be inherently mean, right? Because um, it's easy to tell yourself that, oh man, I'm gonna spite this person the same way they spited me, but or they spite me in the background. But even in those instances, it's not worth it to do that, right? And I know like it's pretty cliche to say, oh, be the better man, be the bigger man, but there is some solace in that when you know that you're not looking to hurt anybody. You never had any bad intentions towards anybody. You've always tried to help others, right? Those people that you kept close to you. But to you, I mean, to them, even though you were mean to an end, your intentions were good. And, you know, you got to find some solace in that. You got to find some happiness in the fact that, you know, you you had good intentions despite it all, right? And even if they don't want to apologize for the things that they've done. You know, I always say that, like, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. So maybe it's best to just like kind of like remove them, or like not even talk to them, especially when they're not willing to own up to things they've said or done in the past, right? And it can be very frustrating when you feel like people are having hidden agendas. I said agendas. I always have like a one word that I get twisted up. These podcasting is a lot to say, a lot to talk about. But I always say that if feel like you don't have anything good to say, maybe it's good to take a step back and just close yourself off from them for a little while, right? And you gotta always remember that the number one person you need to focus on and love is yourself, right? And maybe that person needs to do that for themselves, right? And you should never let anybody openly use and abuse you, right? Especially when you've tried your best to be a good friend. You tried your best to be a good person with nothing negative, no wrong. you know I think that's why there's a lot of people, even to this day, like, I still don't go after and talk to, because I guess growing up, I don't feel like they've had good intentions when it's come to me. There's always been some negativity or some animosity. And you know those people, there's something Keanu Reeves always gets back to me. There's like billions and trillions of people in the world, right? That one person is just somebody else that you could remove, and there's all 99.99999 billion other people to talk to, right? However many people. It's okay if you remove that one person from your life and you don't talk to them, right? It sucks. It's gonna hurt. It's not easy, but it's okay, and things will get better. So that's just like a PSA of like making sure that the people you allow in your inner circle and that you talk to are real friends. People who have your best interests at heart, right? And just like you, and the same goes for you, the onus is also on you. It's not only on them. You need to have their best interests, right? And if you feel like those two conditions can't be met, you should not be involving yourself with that person, right? Because it's not good for you and it's not good for them. You know, you should want people around you that want to talk to you and that you want to talk to. Always remember that. But that's my little PSA. The next thing I want to like talk about is the Fantastic Four trailer. So everybody was well, as soon as the trailer came out, not everybody, but a lot of people that I know in my Discord server were like, "Oh, let's talk about it, let's discuss it." And I had been very tight-lipped, and it almost came off standoffish, but I was being tight-lipped because I was saving it for the podcast. I want to talk about it. I find it very interesting that they're doing it in the past, and I also get it why they're doing it. One, the thing, I heard some people who said that they had problems with the way that things look. I saw it on Twitter and stuff, but the thing actually looks very much like how Alan Ross, who's a very famous artist, if you go look up his stuff, comic book artist, who did like these real painting like drawings and books. Um, and to get back on topic with the whole past thing, Fantastic Four's moniker was Marvel's first family. So when the Justice League created, when the Justice Society of America was created, or the Justice League was created, Marvel wanted to have their own team that they could kind of like have in their comic books, and that to almost be a counteract. And we know that that winds up later on really being the Avengers, but their answer to that was the Fantastic Four. It was Marvel's first family, created in 1961. Um, and I'm assuming, based on them taking place in the past and what looks like the Baxter building being the same building that Tony had the Avengers Tower on, is they were there first. Something happens in the middle of their storyline that we'll probably see after watching the movie, that they get stuck in time, they get thrown in the past, etc. And a lot of what they've done or what they did is what leads to that's really what leads to, like, them coming into the modern day, them trying to find out what's going on. Maybe Doom is involved, why they got stuck in the past. Maybe even Kang, because I heard rumors about I think it's, what is his name? I forget his name. The guy who played Kane coming back. How did I forget his name? I have so much on my mind, but if anybody's been keeping up with the MCU, the guy who played Kang in the MCU, I heard rumors of them bringing him back to just tie up his story and whatnot. Not really as a continuing piece because they're gonna move forward with the whole Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars and Doom Wars. But that's something else I want to talk about. You know, outside of Marvel's First Family, I heard rumors that Sue is gonna be pregnant or get pregnant in the movie. If anybody knows anything about Reed Richards and Susan Storm's two children, is they have two. They have Valeria and Franklin Richards. Valeria winds up being one of the smartest people on the planet, and Franklin Richards winds up being one of the most powerful, if the most powerful, beings on the planet. For a long while, he was considered to be a mutant, and then there was some weird story where the Beyonder was involved, and you found out that Franklin was genetically altering his body to be a mutant, which I thought was a really dumb story. And to me, in my eyes, he's still a mutant. Even if during the Jonathan Hickman's run on the X-Men, he couldn't go to Krakoa past through the gate. I think that in my head canon, that's the more logical piece versus what they were saying with the whole um, the powers of them getting it through the meteorite, and then Sue having to go to the negative zone, and them having to use the energy from the negative zone. I forgot the device so that she can give birth to. It's been so long since I read the story, so she could give birth to Franklin, etc. Uh, that's still intact, but I still consider him to be a mutant. And I really feel like they're gonna go back to that, especially with their push on the X-Men. And what we're seeing in the Captain America and Brave New World being introduced. If anybody's been keeping up with the teasers and the trailers, that adamantium is going to be introduced, and it's going to have something to do with the Celestials. So that's going to be exciting, and that's really going to push the X-Men to the forefront. I also heard that Marvel is looking for individuals ages of 20 to 30 years old to be part of the X-Men projects that they're going to be doing. And I heard they already cast some people like Jean Grey, and they have an idea who they want Cyclops to be, etc. So it's going to be very, very interesting. In speaking with Fantastic Four and going back to Franklin, Franklin has a very significant history. Well, the Fantastic Four in general have a significant history with Galactus. As you all know, that was his first appearance when Watcher the Watcher came. If anybody's kept up with comic books, and he warned of the coming of Galactus. It was this huge event, and Reed had to get the ultimate nullifier to kind of scare him away. But Franklin has a very intricate history, especially during Jonathan Hickman's run of Fantastic Four with Galactus. And I don't know if that's going to come in the future, and that would be super cool because that was part of the lead up into 2015 Secret Wars. Where Franklin, the adult Franklin went back to the past Franklin to try and help him regain a lot of his power that he lost, as his father set up mental blocks for him so that he could prepare for the coming of the Mad Celestials. It's a great story. You should check it out if you can. It's Jonathan Hickman's run on the Fantastic Four. It is amazing. I think you could get annual volumes of it versus having to read the individual issues, and it's really cool. Dante Hickman did a whole masterpiece, starting with the Avengers, going into Fantastic Four, going into the Secret Wars. It was this whole big epic that was really cool, and we hadn't seen in a while. And I'm not surprised that they're doing that the MCU now, using that story, because that was a huge landmark story for Marvel. Um, and if you guys hadn't known, because it seemed that a lot of people haven't really been following up on it. If you haven't seen the Thunderbolts trailer, I actually like the Thunderbolts trailer. The Thunderbolts was a team that was formed by Norman Osborn after the events of the invasion of the Skrull during Secret Invasion, and Norman, having killed the Skrull King and pushed them back, he had become the director of Shield, and he created his own Avengers team, kind of like Dark Avengers. They were called the Thunderbolts. The Thunderbolts were, instead of it being Spider-Man, it was actually Venom Scorpion, who was him. Instead of it being Hawkeye, it was Bullseye. It was this whole dark team. He did have the Sentry on that team, and if you look at the trailer, I'll be showing clips of all this stuff, and I'll have the links in the description. If you look at the trailer, the Sentry is shown at the end. The Sentry is one of there's many characters who copy the moniker of who is Superman, right? You have Gladiator, you have Hyperion, you have the Sentry, you have this. There's a whole bunch of characters. I feel like Hyperion is probably the extreme closest to it, whereas the Sentry has a lot of his powers mixed with Martian Manhunt's power, some of it, and he has this dark side of him called the Void, and I'm pretty sure that's gonna play a significant piece in the movie because if you look at the end of the trailer, it looks like the Thunderbolts freed the Sentry, and now it looks like the Void is slowly coming out, and he's causing some serious damage. How are they gonna stop him? I don't know because if you understand anything with the Thunderbolts, if you ever read anything, that would have led into the story of Dark Reign. Dark Reign was when the Asgardians had. This was after Ragnarok. The Asgardians had lost their home and they were staying in Oklahoma City, and Norman wanted them to be under his control. He didn't like that there was a bunch of gods who were basically roaming around free to do whatever they want. And then he used a situation, I think it was by Volstagg, where Volstagg caused like this big explosion. He used that as a jumping point for them to go and talk to them and to start an invasion. But then he had the Sentry come with him, and the Sentry winds up ripping Ares apart or something like that. Yeah, he like tears them apart, and then they, it goes into, it starts from this brawl to where they all have to wind up with the Captain America, Steve Rogers, is old, and he comes back and he starts going into this really epic monologue, the difference between being a hero and a villain, and taking the harder path versus the easy path. It's a really cool story that I don't want to ruin, but I'm wondering if that's the direction they're gonna go. But if they are, I mean, I don't see how the Thunderbolts do anything to um the Sentry, because they honestly can't. You need somebody like, especially when he's as the Void. There's literally a comic where it's called "The Void Kills the Marvel Universe," and that's how powerful he is. Like, you need somebody like Null, because we found out during the events of King in Black that the Void is a part of Null, the original the being who lived in the original darkness. That's like a piece of him, which is crazy. You find out you need somebody like World War Hulk, who they fought to a standstill, even though Hulk came back and being angry again and came back up. So in some ways I see the Hulk as the victor in that fight. um you need somebody of that magnitude. So I'm very interested to see how the story wraps itself up or what they do with it. But and they could kind of use him as like a secret weapon in the background. But the Sentry is a really intricate character, having Robert Reynolds having been first introduced in the Marvel Knight story, and how he was just this guy who like kind of had like a dad bod, and he comes out and he's like doesn't remember a lot of his past, and then he starts remembering how he had this tower over the Avengers Tower, how he was like overseeing them, something like that. He had the power of 1,000 suns because of this experiment. It's a really cool, intricate story. If you guys want to check it out, go read the original story of Marvel Knights. Another notable instance is World War Hulk. Dark Reign is another notable story. There's a few stories dealing with the Sentry that you would want to go check out if you want to get into it. But that's another cool piece that I thought I wanted to bring up, because it's crazy how like we got these two Marvel trailers back to back, on the heels of the Superman trailer. I'm super excited for that movie. If anybody knows me personally, my favorite comic book heroes are Superman, then Spider-Man, Peter Parker. So the Superman movie I am super excited for. I can't wait to see it. It looks, it really looks like it's bringing back the idea of hope. The trailer came out during a real dark time in my life. I had lost somebody very close to me, and you know, a lot of that movie, especially just in the trailer, brought up this swell of emotions, and I'm excited for it. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see the movie, the Superman. There's a lot of good comic book movies coming out. I mean, I know that especially the MCU's been on a real like downhill in terms of the comic book movies, but I'm really excited to see how these movies turn out. But I do have a baby boy, and I'm not in a rush to see him grow up, so I can wait for them. I'm not like, oh man, I can't wait. Like, I wish time could go ahead, because I want, for me, like, I want my son to, I want to enjoy my son being a kid. I love his little stories, and I'm not in any rush to see him grow up, especially since Superman comes out the month of his birthday. So, yeah, and Thunderbolts comes out in May. I'm not sure if they showed anything regarding the Fantastic Four in terms of like a release date, but Yeah, it's exciting stuff for comic book fans and the MCU fans and just comic book movie fans in general. Um, Over the weekend, there was this huge shutdown. It looks like for PSN. I'll have links as to when it started. It looks like it started back on February 7th. There was a huge blackout. PSN was down. Nobody was on PlayStation Network. Oh, nobody could get on PlayStation Network. I saw GameStop tweeted a really funny tweet like, "Oh, you wish you guys had those physical games now," or something like that. I'm not quoting because I don't have the tweet up right now, but I saw it on X, and it was pretty funny. Or I saw it on Facebook with a link to X, and it's pretty funny that they kind of used that uh, Sony's PSN being down as leverage to promote like, oh, this is why you need to shop at GameStop to buy physical games. Man, I haven't bought physical game outside of a Nintendo one in a while. Speaking of that, so it looks like with PSN having been down, it looks like all services returned on February 9th, the time of the recording of this video, even though the video is going to be released on February 10th. Looks like all services were restored. It looks like users are getting 5 days of free subs, which I think is kind of weak. Should have gave a couple of free games like they did back in 2011. So if anybody had a PS3 or had PSN back in 2011, I know most people were Xbox 360 heads. I myself had a PS3. I was always Sony, Nintendo until and PC until I like really just focus on PC because all this console exclusivity BS that I don't want to deal with. Um, uh Back in 2011 PSN had went down. I think it was a little longer, but they gave you a couple of free games. There wasn't anything crazy, but it was free games. Well, and back then PlayStation Network was free, so but I guess 5 days of free PS Plus will help people be able to play online, I guess. It looks like that's it on that front. There's not really much in regards to the PlayStation Network. I mean, I'm disappointed, especially with Sony's success in the PS5, especially in the PS4, that they didn't give more. But in other news, it looks like there was a trailer for Mai and Street Fighter 6, which I'm gonna put up. Anybody knows I'm a huge Fatal Fury fan. I have all three of the movies: Fatal Fury, Legend of the Hungry Wolf, Fatal Fury 2, The New Battle, Fatal Fury, the motion picture. I have all the movies. Huge Terry Bogard fan. That's my main in Street Fighter 6. Even though I haven't played in a while. But it looks like Mai joined the picture. I know they had announced her back after Capcom Cup. I think it was after Capcom Cup when they announced the next season, the next slate. Uh, she looks very interesting. She seems like she has a lot of cool tools. I love this the sounds, the sound effects or the voiceovers because it reminds me of the movie. The Shinobi Bachi, all that. That's from the movie, which I thought was pretty cool. It was a really cool kickback to that. Um, the fire thing looks like it's set up through charges. I'm not 100% sure, but it looks like the fire is set up through chart. Maybe there's a charge or some kind of mechanic. I know the character is out. People tested it. Test is testing her, playing with her already. I haven't hopped on personally myself. I need to. I've honestly been super addicted to Marvel Rivals, continuing trying to get better. It's a rough process. I'm not the best in FPS or hero shooters as it is, but I feel like I'm trying. Game still gets me salty and super upset. If you ever watch me on stream, you'll see my frustration sometimes. Um, but it's all in the love of the game. I get frustrated because I expect in anything that I do, I expect me to go to the best of my ability and including my intentions. And sometimes when what I intend to do doesn't match what happens on screen, it sucks that it doesn't work out. But every day is a learning process. Every day is a trying to get better process, and I have to also work on how I handle my own frustrations. But Mai looks cool. It's a cool addition. I think the next character that's coming is Elena, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. And when it comes to Elena, the only thing I hope is that healing mechanic. Oh God, that healing mechanic when she got ported over from Street Fighter Cross Tekken to Street Fighter 4 was super busted. I never played a great Elena. I didn't get halfway decent in Street Fighter 4 until the end of the game. So I never really got to play a decent or good Elena, but because I wasn't good enough. But she, from when I saw tournaments like SoCal regionals, NorCal regionals, Eight on the Break, East Coast Throwdown. When I saw all these FGC fighting game tournaments, that would happen Evo. Her healing, I think it was her Ultra 2, was so busted because you would do all this work to hit her, and her hitboxes and hurt boxes was super disjointed. Like it just wasn't a great pour over. She was just extremely strong, and frustrating to even like see happening. I think towards the end though, Evil Ryu was pretty much the strongest character, but him and Yun. But yeah, Yun, by the way, is my favorite Street Fighter character. So, yeah, yeah. And that's pretty much it with a lot of what I've been watching and picking up over the weekend. You know, my weekend was pretty busy. I took my son to the car shop. Actually, I'm lying. Uh, I took my son to the car shop on Saturday, like I promised him. He got 5 packs of cards. Super cool seeing him open packs of cards. Let me know if you guys ever want me to put a video up of that. I think I have a video of him when I first took him to buy packs of cards, the Supreme Darkness packs. And I don't mind. His excitement is amazing. I love seeing his excitement, how he's really grown attached to the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! But me and him watched YCS, which is the Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Birmingham over the weekend. It was really cool, and it reminded me of way back in the day, the one Yu-Gi-Oh tournament, like official Yu-Gi-Oh tournament I ever joined. And man, I was really poor back then. I had a lot of proxy cards with paper that they didn't allow, so I couldn't even play my deck properly. But um, yeah. So that's neither here nor there. But back in the day, I had joined the tournament. I did really poorly, but at the end, the guy who won, there was this gadget deck that came out, and he bought 3 copies of the gadget deck and just put like staples in it, and I like made a deck out of it that he won the whole thing. Now I've been trying to keep up with the Yu-Gi-Oh playing field, competitive field nowadays, so me and my son could talk about it. It looks like the top decks are like Rizio, Fiendsmith, Malice. Those were like the top decks, and this guy bought 3 Fire King decks, structure decks, put them together with some staples, and he won the whole thing, beating all those thousands of dollar decks, which I thought was super cool. It reminded me of that time when I joined my first ever Yu-Gi-Oh local tournament way back in the day. Um, I was like, it brought back a lot of memories, and like I was rooting for him because I was just like, man, I really hope this guy wins. He's like the underdog, and he won. He took the whole thing. So I thought that was really, really cool. Um, Outside of that, I've been trying to, just there was a lot going on in my personal life that, we kind of touched up on earlier. I've been trying to reevaluate a lot of what I consider a friend to be, you know, and slowly but surely, I wouldn't say I'm like cutting people off, and this is to get back to the first topic. I know there was no real segue to this, but just thinking about how like that tournament brought back memories. I wouldn't say I'm cutting people off. Um, I'm still reevaluating that in my brain and my process. But I would say that like now in my adult life, I'm not really looking to play office politics with people who I consider to be my friends. If you're my friend, I'm not here to play office politics with you or cater to your feeling. I do that enough in my own personal life and my own personal job, right? And I've actually made some real friends in my own personal job who I value a lot, who actually treat me a lot. I wouldn't say treat me a lot better than most people I've known for a long time, or like, and it's crazy because, you know, some of these people, like when I really look back and I think about like my relationship with them, like from the past to the present, it's like you notice little things, little micro things, right? And they add up. And it hurts a little bit, right, when you think about it. And like I said, like, I'm way too old to be playing office politics when I'm outside of work. I got a family, I got a wife and son, and like I said, as I look to reevaluate people in my life, friends in particular right now, um, I'm only looking for people who genuinely want to be my friend. And this is my advice to everyone. Look for people who genuinely want to talk to you, want to be around you, enjoy your company, and enjoy talking to you. Don't be friends with anybody who don't look for you, don't talk to you, don't genuinely enjoy you, and just use you as a means to an end. All right, that's my PSA. I said it earlier, and I'm gonna end it this way. I still haven't come up with a proper slogan for this stuff, but wiggamajigga. Like, share, subscribe if you like the podcast. Um, like I said before, you don't have to hit that save point. You don't have to look for a save point or a checkpoint, because guess what? We're auto save. You don't have to worry about that. Welcome to the modern day, okay? We'll save your backlog. All right? I really got to come up with a slogan. If anybody could think of a slogan, leave it in a comment. I'll use it. I'll credit you too. All right. Later, guys.